A simple question, a powerful answer. The community center in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, buzzed with life. The scent of fresh coffee and warm pastries filled the air as townspeople gathered for the evening's meet and greet. It was the kind of place where neighbors still knew each other by name, where life slowed down just enough for people to truly connect. Karoline Leavitt stood near a folding table stacked with pamphlets, smiling as she shook hands and answered questions. She loved events like these, not for the attention, but for the real, unfiltered conversations. As she chatted with an older woman about local schools, she felt a light tug at her sleeve. She turned and glanced down. A little girl, no older than 7, stood there. Her chestnut curls framed her round, freckled face, and her wide brown eyes were locked on Karoline's cross necklace. Karoline crouched down to meet the girl's gaze. "Hey there," she said softly. "What's your name?" "Samantha," the girl whispered. "Well, it's nice to meet you, Samantha." Karoline smiled, but the girl's gaze didn't waver. She pointed a small, trembling finger at the gold cross resting against Karoline's collarbone. "What does your necklace mean?" The question was simple, innocent, yet it carried a weight Karoline hadn't expected. For years, that cross had rested against her skin, close to her heart. It wasn't just jewelry. It was a reminder of something bigger than herself. And now, for the first time in a long time, someone was asking her to explain it. A memory that shaped her Karoline's mind flashed back to a night she had spent years trying to forget. She was 19, a freshman at Belmont University, struggling to balance classes, 2 part-time jobs, and the nagging feeling that she didn't belong. Her faith, once strong, felt distant and hollow. Then the phone call came. Her grandmother, the woman who had taught her to bake biscuits, who always smelled like lavender and spoke about faith as if it were as real as the ground beneath their feet, was gone. A sudden heart attack. No warning, no goodbye. That night, Karoline wandered into her grandmother's bedroom. The scent of lavender still lingered. On the nightstand, she saw it, a delicate gold chain with a cross pendant resting against a worn Bible. Karoline picked it up, her fingers brushing against the cool metal. It felt different, heavier, more significant. She slipped the chain over her head and broke down. Tears came hard and fast as she curled into herself on her grandmother's bed. "If you're real," she whispered into the silence, "I need to know. I need to feel something, anything." There was no voice from the heavens, no sudden burst of warmth, but something shifted. Her heart, which had felt like it was tearing itself apart, slowed. The tightness in her chest loosened just a little. It wasn't an answer, but it was enough to keep going. A ripple of kindness. Karoline returned to Belmont with a heart that wasn't quite healed but wasn't completely shattered either. One night, a classmate named Brandon sat across from her in the student lounge, his eyes red and hollow. "My dad died last night," he whispered. Karoline froze. She didn't offer empty words. Instead, she reached for her necklace, rubbing the pendant between her fingers. "I lost my grandma last month," she admitted. "I don't have the right words, but I know how it feels." Then she did something unexpected. She took off the necklace and held it out to him. "Just borrow it," she said softly, "until you feel like you can breathe again." Brandon took it, his hands shaking. A year later, he told her he wasn't ready to give it back. Karoline just smiled. "Then it's yours." A moment that changed everything. Now, years later, Karoline stood in the community center, face to face with Samantha. The little girl's question had brought her back to that moment in her grandmother's bedroom. Karoline took a steady breath. "My grandmother gave me a necklace just like this," she said, her fingers grazing the cross. "It reminded me that even when I felt alone, I never really was." Samantha's eyes flickered with understanding. "My mom used to wear one," she whispered, "but she had to sell it. We needed food more than jewelry." Karoline's chest tightened. Without hesitation, she reached behind her neck, unclasped the chain, and placed it in Samantha's small hand. "It's yours now," she said softly, "and whenever you wear it, remember that no matter what happens, you're never alone." The little girl's fingers curled around the necklace as tears welled in her eyes. She launched herself forward, wrapping her small arms around Karoline's neck. The room fell silent, the weight of the moment settling over everyone. A community united. As the crowd watched, something unexpected happened. A man stepped forward and placed a small wad of cash in Samantha's mother's hand. "For groceries," he said simply. Then others followed. A woman handed over a gift card. Another G